Yes.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Michael Michelle, and I am the President of the Board of Elections for the calendar year 2015 and the Republican Commissioner from Queens County. These are the hearings of challenges to designated petition state and local offices, as well as party positions to be contested in the September 10th primary election. This year, we have a number of challenges, and we ask the cooperation and understanding of all present. This will enable us to move matters along in an orderly fashion. I now would ask that each commissioner and staff member present identify himself or herself for the record, starting from my left.
Ron Pastorino, Richmond County Republican.
Simon Shmoon, Kings Republican.
Frederick Humane, Manhattan Republican.
Bianca Perez, Bronx Democrat.
Jose Roger, Queens Democrat.
Alan Schultz, Manhattan Democrat.
John Flato, Kings County Democrat.
Marie Costello, Richmond Democrat.
Joanne Sandow, Deputy Executive Director.
Pamela Perkins, Administrative Manager. Troy Capizanitis, Operational Manager.
Troy Johnson, CRU.
White Hagerty, Deputy Chief Clerk, Queens. Robert Pataki, Queens Office.
Kenneth Milton, Council of Commissioners. Stephen Dankberg, Council of the Commission.
Steve Richmond, General Counsel. Raphael Zeno, Deputy General Counsel. Matt Graves, Candidate for Records Unit.
Rayvon Weaver, CRU.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I want to remind all persons appearing before the commissioners at this hearing must fill out a notice of appearance form. It's located at the front counter. Each person must present the complete form for each or matter to our staff as they come up to the podium to speak. Only one speaker at a time can speak. And I want to remind all commissioners, board staff, attorneys, and members of the public that only one person should speak at any time so that the audio and video system can accurately record the proceedings. Also, please speak directly into the microphone so that all present can hear the proceedings. And also, please turn off all cell phones. Procedure for voting the clerk's report. I want to advise all present that this board is required by state law to record how each commissioner votes on each matter. In the event that we are not unanimous in our vote on any given matter, I will ask that our council conduct a roll call vote on all commissioners for the record. I now call upon Steve Richmond, General Counsel for the board, to call the calendar for this hearing.
Mr. Richmond, before you do that, did we make the calendar available?
Commissioners, in accordance with the rules, if you look over your shoulder under the poster, there's a table which marks hearing calendars, and copies of the prima facie calendars and the spec calendars for this afternoon's hearings. Queens and Bronx counties were made available no later than 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Thank you.
Commissioners, in accordance with the schedule you adopted, we begin with Queens County. I'm pleased to report there are no legal prima facie issues to report, so I will turn the microphone over to Mr. Troy Johnson, who will present the prima facie matters for CRU as well as the enrollment issues.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Please turn to your CRU folder and read prima facie report.
I believe it's the folder with your name on it.
There you are, my name.
All right. Commissioners? Prima facie report, please.
Queens 1, Spec 1. Member of the City Council, 23rd Council District.
Hold on. Hold on 1 second.
One that says prima facie report at the top.
Can I just make a recommendation next time, tomorrow, let's just do one county, just give the folders for that one county.
Just a
mix with Queens and Bronx, so it's.
Okay.
If we get one there.
Commissioners, legal, it says legal Bronx, it's the only Bronx.
Yeah, well, just hold one folder and hand it out,
Thank
each individual borough.
Queens 1, Spec 1, member of the City Council, 23rd Council District. Candidate, Santam Singh Pahar. Objector, Sunal Rachmadandi. Rule H11, POS filed without objection number. Are there any appearances?
Yes.
Notice of appearance?
Appearances, please. Since this relates to the proof of service of the objector, would you go first and identify yourself?
I am Sarah Steiner, representing the objector in this matter. The specs were filed with a proof of service. Omitted from the proof of service was the objection number. It was filed together on the correct date.
Emiliano Perez for the candidate. Mr. Singh Pahar.
Do you have any statement to make?
The objections are baseless and made in bad faith.
That's not the issue here.
Mr. Johnson, you attached Exhibit A, which is the proof of service.
Yes, sir.
Is this the only proof of service that we received?
Yes.
Do you see anywhere, Mr. Richard, do you see anywhere the objection number?
No, Commissioners, and Rule H11 specifically provides that you have to provide us with a copy of proof of service with respect either by including the borough and general objection specification number on the proof of service, such as a mailing receipt, or attaching the proof of service to a copy of the first page of the specification. Attaching it to the specifications is not appropriate, is not allowed by the rules, because the spec gets sent to the boroughs to be worked. The proof of service remains here as part of the official records of the board. That's the reason you adopted the rule with those specific requirements.
Commissioner?
Yeah, we've been pretty consistent. For objections, you gotta do it right, because you're looking to essentially invalidate a candidacy on technical reasons. In order to do that, you have to comply with the rules.
I might note that I believe that the clerk worked the specs.
Again, Commissioners, your rule provides that specifications of objection shall be worked unless they are either frivolous or that the objector lacks standing without regard to any prima facie findings. Until you Commissioners vote on the prima facie report, this is only a staff finding. So the Queensborough was instructed to do it, otherwise we'd never conclude these hearings.
Do you want to add anything, Mr. Candidate, to the candidate?
No.
I just move the prima facie report as it relates to this one particular candidate.
Second. All in favor? All opposed?
Thank you. The prima facie report is adopted and the spec is dismissed for failing to comply with Rule H11. Mr. Johnson?
Republican, certificate of declination, county committee. Candidate, Clifford Reedon. Certificate of declination was filed on 7/24/2015. Deadline was 7/13/2015.
That's a typo on our paper.
Yes, I apologize for the typo.
Appearances, if anyone?
Any appearances?
We'll keep
Do you want to keep going? If
All right, all right, all right. County committee. Petition number Queens 150025. 225. Candidate, Clifford Redden, Myra Hurst, Josephine Russo. Party calls, stage vote for 2.
Appearances, please.
Any appearance?
Keep going.
Certificate of last one. Candidate, Rose Marie Galante. Certificate of disqualification declination, county committee. Certificate of declination filed on 7/24/2015. The due date was 7/13/2015.
Any appearances?
There being no appearances, I move the prima facie report in.
Second.
Favor? All opposed?
Queens CRU prima facie report was adopted. All of those specs and all candidates are dismissed. Enrollment issues.
Commissioners, now we go to the enrollment issues.
What I suggest is we just read through it and then ask if anybody wants to come up and
So if you,
make a statement. So I would just
if you
run
hear
right
your
through the
name,
list.
If you hear your name, please form a line behind the candidate podium, and we'll hear from you after the end of the reading of the list. Mr. Johnson's only going to read the name of the candidates.
Anthony J. Hill. Victoria J. Polk. C. Polktine. Basil Polktine. Dorothy M. Urban. Ann DeMarco. Peter Hudson. Tammy Chiamonte. Sheila Lewinsky.
Lewandowski.
Chara Grace Donnelly. Gerald. Michelle Olivado. Peter Zuccarello. Roxanne Sanchez. Jean M. McGee. Christina A. Colorado. Arlena Lutz. Valerie Lodato. Tracy G. Lilly-Mock. Michelle A. Baker. Anne Marie Osman. Nazia Mohammed. Bibi S. Khan. Bettina R. Curlo. Caesar Owner. Fida Mohammed. Stefan Satu. Vilma Silva. Dana M. Ramlar. John Nordis.
That name sounds very familiar.
Does he exist?
His address.
Maria G. Miranda. Dorothy Gail J. Nielsen. Sarah C. Anderson. Roger L. Asma. Wapanari Prasad. Julie Cordero. Oscar M. Ransing. Juan Escobar. Jacqueline Valdez. Gertrude D. Amabrosi. Foto J. Denzi. Mohammed Sohail. Teresa Hannity. Seneca Cruz. George Shedlock. Olivia Mahidi. Raphael Chin. Richard Twomp. Angie Lim. Kathleen Marsh.
Skip the page. Page
Stephen Stewart. Page 7.
Stephen Stewart. Julie Cordero. Elizabeth Zenero. Paul Jones. Joan D'Orazzo. Emilio A. Colucci. Angie Lime. Kathleen Marsh. Peter J. Monteiro IV. Justine Sanders. Frank Delia. Antonio Rivera.
Are there any appearances by any of these candidates? Commissioners, there appear to be no appearances regarding. Oh, Mr. Norris. Wait. You notice an appearance?
I thought you didn't need one for a candidate. Just to go on record, I did not fill out the petition personally. I turned over my information to the county. Somewhere it was transposed, the address, just so it doesn't look like I don't remember my own address. I beg that because of an error by other people that at least my candidacy can continue.
You have a printed letter?
That I don't have, no. It was handwritten, it wasn't a printer, it was done clerically. Ministerially, there you go.
You can swear, if you swear him in, Commissioners, if you swear him in and ask him what his correct address is. and-
There's only one John Norris in all the city of New York.
Mr. Norris, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give before the commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
And that I do.
Mr. Norris, what is your correct address?
107-63 110th Street in Richmond Hill, Queens. It got transposed to 107.
Are you aware that the petition was filed with 107-63 107th Street?
I am aware now, yes.
Do you have any knowledge, you provided the correct information to the organization, can the organization prepare it?
Yes,
It's your belief that this is a Scrivener's error?
yes.
Commissioners, you have a sworn statement from Mr. Norris that what his correct address is, and that this appears to be a Scrivener's
All right,
error.
I just move that we remove his name from the candidate enrollment list, and then move the rest of the
Yeah,
board.
second.
Printer's errors to be notarized, why did we just swear?
Because the testimony was given at the hearing, normally, that's our practice.
It wasn't printed.
It was, no, we don't have a written
It was
written notification. So you will
Move-
make the amendment?
move his name.
All of
All of it, everybody in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Now a motion would
And
be.
now a motion to move the report.
As amended.
Remaining report.
Second.
No, it was part of his
Me,
motion.
me.
We have one more.
You have one number?
Situation.
Who? Oh, somebody else is here?
Thank you,
Oh, we have a
Commissioner.
second one. Why didn't they come forward? What's your name?
Muhammad Arif Sohail.
Hold on, that's fine.
Mohammed Sohail.
Page 6.
Number one. The first one, the second one, Commissioner, on page 6. Mr. Sohail, Commissioner, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this board?
Yes.
Mr. Sohail, what is your correct address?
98-42 Corona Avenue, second floor, Corona, and Y11368.
Commissioners, the cover sheet, which is what we entered county committee for pursuant to your direction, had it listed at 98-36 instead of 98-42.
Mr. Richmond, also the name is different.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, and the name, and the cover sheet doesn't have a
Just
name.
ask me how his name is wrong, what's the corresponding?
What's your correct spelling of your first name?
Mohammed.
And Commissioner, he is an avid record.
Registration Republicans?
He is a registered Republican, yes. Active in the, enrolled in the 39th Assembly District, where he is a candidate for the county committee. So he meets the statutory requirements of being enrolled, a member of the party residing within the Assembly District.
All right, I move that we exclude him from the candidates
I
list.
second. All in favor? All opposed?
Are there any other candidates to appear? Going once, twice? Commissioner, I think now a motion to amend, adopt the report as amended.
I make a motion to adopt the report as amended. Second. All in favor? All opposed? Carries.
Commissioner, that concludes the CRU Public Factory Report 2016. Queens.
We will now move to the clerk's reports on specifications of objections, and I'm going to ask Mr. Denberg to call the two clerk's reports for Queens County. Commissioners, the specification Queens 1-1 was dismissed prima facie for failing to comply with Rule H11. So it would be in order for you to dismiss this spec report.
I move we dismiss the spec as moved.
Second. All in favor? All opposed? Carries.
Democratic Party, Queens County, spec number 2-1 and 3,
No,
no, 2-1. In the matter of the objections by Archie Spigner to the petition of David C. Johnson a member of the Assembly in the 29th District. Any appearances?
Frank Bowles, 9525 Queens Boulevard, Regal Park, New York, 11374, on behalf of the objector.
So you want to hear from the candidate? Mr. Bowles, do you want to add anything to the book? I'm sorry.
Number of signatures submitted, 537. Total valid, 172. Number of signatures required, 500.
Do you want to add anything to the clerk's report?
No.
Move the clerk's report?
Second. All in favor? All opposed? Carried.
The candidate will not appear on the ballot. Democratic Party, Queens County, spec number 3-1. In the matter of the objections by Archie Spigner to the petition of Terrell Ebony de Mandanca for a member of Assembly in the 29th District. Any appearances?
Frank Bowles, 9525 Queens Boulevard, Regal Park, New York, on behalf of the objector.
Anyone appearing for the candidate?
Yes, Ruthie Campbell, 10828 175th Street, that's Jamaica, New York, on behalf of Terrell Ebony de Mendoza.
Number of signatures submitted, 1,447. Total valid signatures, 497. Number of signatures required, 500.
For the candidate, you're, according to the clerk's report, you're 3 signatures short. Yep. Anything to say?
Yes. Upon careful study and review of the New York City Board of Election Queens Clerk County report, the following line by line items be qualified from 497 to 500.
Do you have a list?
Do you have a?
Yes, we do.
Would you please hand up your list?
Objector and copy to us?
How many signatures do you have?
Multiple copies.
500.
Frank, you
If they're 500, we're going to send it out.
14.
There's 14.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have 14, you're looking to
Yeah.
rehabilitate.
You have 14 more.
Would you mind
We're
providing
gonna
Mr. Bowles
send-
with
we're
a
gonna
copy,
send-
please?
Excuse me?
Would you
Oh,
mind providing
sure.
Mr. Bowles with a copy,
Frank?
please? Thank you very much.
Commissioners, there's a, in accordance with your rules, there's a proper exception report questioning 14 rulings on
Mr.
the.
Bowles, do you have any that you would also like to?
No, I do not.
Do we have any errors that you would like to point out?
I do not. Though the exceptions report is just giving me VSN numbers, it doesn't actually have the registrations. If it had the registrations attached, I could then compare it to the petitions.
Right, but this is a list that is in certainly substantial compliance with what we asked for. So I think we should send it out and have the clerks review with the parties and do this on second call. And we can go over these with our clerks.
Does this comply with our rules?
Commissioners, yes, I'm looking at the exact language.
The rule J1 is supposed to set forth the actual exception to the clerk's report. So they're not indicating the reason why page 7, line 3 was found invalid. And all they're providing is a VSN number. They're not actually explaining what the issue was and why the board made an error.
In conformity with our rules, this commissioners a list of exceptions which identifies with specificity each ruling by the clerk which is claimed to be erroneous. This is not listing that. Where we made the error.
Well, as per the county's specifications, it lists each objection.
Where does it list it? It just says the page number and line number. It
No, I'm
doesn't say
sorry,
what about the clerk's ruling you're objecting to where the board made an error? Where is that in your exception?
Was the
We have
objection
that
that the
here.
person was not registered?
We do have that information right here.
So, but was the basis for this listing the VSN number, the fact that the voter was not registered, was that the basis
Yes.
of the objection?
Yes.
Of some
So
of them,
that
yes.
the
For some of them.
VSN
Yes, for some
number
of
would
them.
indicate that at least somebody by that name might be registered.
There's some of them though, not all of them, is that correct?
Yes.
So we need to guess what the other errors are?
No, sir, we have detailed and itemized explanations for each objection.
Right, that should be attached to this.
Oh, wow, so sorry.
Hand that up?
Hand it up.
Oh, certainly. Sure, here you go.
And that's for 14 of them?
Yes, it is for each one.
Each one listed in the sheet.
We're gonna need that information back.
Commissioners,
Would you have copies for the objector?
Unfortunately, we only have that set of copies.
I think we can work together and have second call.
Commissioners, this is, for each page that there is, restore number one, a copy of the petition page, copy of the spec and the clerk's report, together with copies of the relevant board records.
So with the additional,
I think with this one, I think it's clear than what they're raising.
all right, Mr. Pataki and Mr. Hagan.
Well, I would disagree with Mr. Richmond. I don't think it's clear what they're raising. They just have supporting documentation. They're not setting forth which portion of the clerk's determination that they're disputing. But that be as it may.
But you're saying that you want to go for second.
I don't want to, but I will participate in the due process.
Mr. Pataki, Mr. Hagan, can you please assign a staff member to review the 14 exceptions listed on there?
Just for 14. You guys stay. You finished.
So that'll be second call. That concludes the
Second
first call of the Queens.
Following the Bronx hearing.
Thank you.
Commissioners, next on your calendar will be the Bronx. Will the staff members distribute the appropriate folders, both the clerk's report and the CIU prima facie? Commissioners, you have at your desk a folder marked legal Bronx. Enrollment issues for the Bronx, there is no CIU prima facie report, and then we'll get to the clerk's report. So, Commissioners, with your permission, can we begin with the legal prima facie? Sure. Commissioners, again, if we could have the attendance, as we call the prima facie matters, if a candidate wishes to appear, please step up. Commissioners, on the first legal prima facie relates to designating petition Bronx 721 for the civil court candidate Miguel A. Santiago. Some of the petition pages lack the number of signatures on that page, which is mandated by law, and you have attached following that samples of the examples of those pages. Legal, Bronx legal, Bronx legal. Commissioners, also for the same petition volume, you also have the same explanation of the prima facie defect. Petition pages lack the number of signatures for candidate Sam Sloan for delegate for the 77th AD. And also for the same petition numbers, Carlton Curry, delegate Judicial Convention, and Millie Quinones, delegate to the Judicial Convention. That's page 19 of the calendar. And on page 20, for delegates to the Judicial Convention, also from the 77th, Lynn Sanchez, Santo Orozco, and Stephanie Gibbs, Jason Gamble. Stephanie Gibbs, I should say only. Those are all relating to the 77th AD petition number Bronx 721, as well as the candidate Santiago for civil court.
Anybody appearances?
Here.
Please step up, please. State your name and do you have your appearance?
My name is Sam Sloan.
He is on page 18, the first page. He's a candidate and delegate.
Yeah, I'm very surprised to see my name.
Hold on.
Wait, I'm a bit confused, maybe I'll get some direction from the honorable board. There are also objections filed against this petition, the 77. Does that come later?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Fine. This
Then
is purely the prima
board
facie
and
defect.
Mr. Sloan. Very good.
Mr. Sloan, petitions were filed in volume 721, in which the number of signatures were omitted from the witness statement.
Firstly, let me explain to you. I did not circulate these petitions.
Mr. Sloan, you're the candidate. Did you give consent to be a candidate?
Yes, I did.
So these are the petitions that were filed on your behalf?
Well, I suppose so, but let me just say a few things about this, okay? Please. I know you don't like that, you always cut me off, Mr. Richmond, but I'd like to say something about
Please
this, okay?
continue.
Okay. I did not circulate these petitions. I did not prepare these petitions. I don't even know who these people are in most cases. I think I know one or two of them. I don't know these people. I got a telephone call from a man who runs candidates every year. Every election, he runs fills up the Bronx. He said he had some empty slots and he needed somebody to fill in the empty space on his candidacy. And would, as a favor, I would agree to be listed as a candidate. And since he's done many favors for me in the past, I agreed to be listed as a candidate. I don't know anything about any defects. I haven't received any notice. There was nothing mailed to me. I did not receive any objections. Nothing has come to me, and as far as I know, nothing has come to any of these petitioners. We haven't received anything.
A cover sheet was filed on behalf of the judge candidate and the delegates designating Ms. Millie Canonis as the contact person. She received a copy of the notice of the prima facie defects as required under the board's rules. With respect to any objections, they're supposed to be served on the first name person on the committee to fill vacancies for party positions, so you shouldn't have been served.
Okay, well, none of these people, I would be willing to wager that none of the people on the list that you mentioned knew anything about this hearing. I certainly didn't know.
Ms. Canonis was received a notice by express mail.
You can't say that, sir. Mr. Sloan, how did you know to come here today?
I came yesterday and I said, are there any hearings going on? I said, oh yes, there'll be a hearing today. I didn't know it was a hearing about me though. I didn't know that I would be called. What?
You just so happened to be here.
I just decided to come. I usually try to come and see what's going on at these hearings. But also, let me explain to you that I did ask yesterday when I saw this letter, NCN letter, I think it's called, for proof of service, because I know that the person who's the contact person says that she never got anything and nothing came in the mail. Yeah, okay.
Yes, questions?
Mr. Sloan, are you a registered Republican?
I'm a registered Democrat now.
I'm sorry?
I used to be a Republican, but I saw the truth, the way, and the life, and I became, because we don't have any Republicans up.
So that's why I was curious, because you seem to be on a Democratic.
Yeah, I changed. I learned the way, you know, I got the picture, you know. So I'm now a Democrat. Thank you for asking.
I do appreciate you turning over to the good side. Do you have anything to add with respect to the fact that the petition is missing the number of signatures on certain pages, which is the reason why it's listed on the prima facie, legal prima facie list?
Well, from what I was told, because again, I did not circulate it, I was told that more than 1,000 signatures were collected, and there simply was no time to number them, and there were so many more signatures.
That's the problem. By your own admission, there may have been some issues with the putting the numbers on the page, which is an issue. I make a motion that we adopt the judge.
Well, I think the other hand.
On the motion, I just have one more question. I'm a little surprised to see this on the prima facie calendar for a technical defect. If there were enough signatures on these petitions, normally what we would do is wait for somebody to file an objection. This is not something that we would ordinarily be including in a prima facie. The fact that some of the pages don't have the number of signatures on them. For a prima facie defect, as long as there are signatures filed for that and it passes the weight test, we don't normally get into these technical things, we wait for an objection. So even though Mr. Sloan seems to have joined the dark side, I'm just curious as to why we would be seeing this on prima facie. And perhaps Mr. Schlein filed an objection anyway.
I did, but I can elaborate the answer to your question since Mr. Richmond's a little slow on the uptake there today. The page, I'm getting to that, I'm trying to do your work for you. The pagination of that petition was, to say the least, bizarre. It went from, as an example, pages 2, 4, 6, 8, 27, 93, 14, 57. It was like a secret code from the CIA, and it was within that pagination issue that notification was sent out, and no response to that notification occurred, thereby mandating its placement on the prima facie.
Well, that to me is a legitimate reason for being there.
Well, I was jumped up to answer your question, Mr. Commissioner.
That's the only reason we examined the petition, is there was a fraud to our page numbering defect. And while we issued a non-compliant notice for the page numbering defect, which has never been cured, we also observed by statute, trying to go through the pages, that pages without them had an essential element mandated by statute. That's the only reason we expected the petition, because we had to find out which pages were in out of order.
Well, as I understand it, these sheets were handed out to different volunteers to collect the signatures, and some people put numbers on them, and some people didn't put numbers on them, and then it's a jumbled mess, basically. A lot of different people who are very limited in homeless shelters, have very little education.
Prima facie report.
I second the motion.
All in favor? All opposed?
I'm sorry, Commissioners, I need to remind the honorable commissioners of something. Apropos Mr. Sloan's last statement that these pages were distributed to different people to give out, some of which may have lived in homeless shelters. If I may remind the honorable board, this entire petition was witnessed by a single individual. One subscribing witness to the entire petition, which kind of debunks what Mr. Sloan may have just indicated.
Commissioners, resuming on page 21, we have three delegates from the 79th Assembly District relating to petition 699. Delegate candidates Jason Gamble, Inez Harvey, Catherine Johnson, that there is either an incomplete address on the petitions which are attached to that, or an invalid zip code. For Mr. Ruiz, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Harvey.
Yeah, no, Mr. Richmond, didn't put the whole order?
No, we only did those, I only gave the 77th AD, I didn't do the 79th.
Any appearances?
Appearances for the 79th Assembly District.
Excuse me, I'll say one more thing. I asked
This is the next
I asked for proof of service yesterday, and I have not been given proof of service of the Indian letter. I'd like to see the proof of service. I came politely yesterday. I said, please, because the contact person said she never got the notice.
Yeah, the copy of the express mail, we'll show it to you.
So please give it to me. 'Cause I had-
We'll show it to you. For Commissioner, on the 77th AD, Mr. Figueroa?
We're on the 79.
79.
79.
Get over here, thank you.
Be my guest.
I'm the candidate. You were on the 79th, Mr. Richmond?
Yes, the candidates Jason Gamble, Miguel, Inez Harvey, and Kathy Johnson.
We accept the references of the council, and those errors were in fact made. But given the fact that none of them are employed by the Board of Elections, I won't ask the board to administer a note that had the scrivener's error, so.
Let us get your name.
Yes, good afternoon, Penny. My name is John Perez, live at 1041 Pugsley Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10472, apartment 3A.
You filled out an organization?
Yes, I did.
And which candidate are you appearing for?
I'm appearing for all candidates on the 79th.
Again, may I point out to the board, this is not the appropriate moment. We're not dealing with the objections to the 79th right now. We're on the prima facie calendar. They may want to point that out to
Yes,
Mr. Perez.
Commissioner, the defects here is that in the case of Ms. Harvey, her address is just listed as Concourse Village East with no building number. For Mr. Gamble, it's just Washington Avenue. And for Ms. Johnson, she has a zip code of 104598837.
That was the lottery number for the day. They're errors, and we accept the ruling of the recommendation of counsel to the board.
I move the prima facie report.
Thank you.
So they're off. So
This really has nothing to do with Mr. Perez's issues. He doesn't know that, but I'm trying to be helpful.
I'm just trying to explain it to him. If we
We'll get to it
sustain
later.
the prima facie report, those candidates are off the ballot.
I understand.
And so you're here for the objector, I presume.
Exactly.
So it's okay that the candidates are off the ballot. So that's what we're doing.
It serves your purpose.
Thank you. Not yet.
And Commissioner,
All-
the last,
Just gotta do all in favor.
Oh, I gotta do all in favor.
Aye.
All opposed? Carried.
in the 80th Assembly District, delegate to the Judicial Convention, Miguel A. Ruiz, petition, page 23. Petition does not identify the candidate's complete residence address. And then the remainder, commissioners, are the alternate delegates in the 77th with the same issue that we dealt with now with the delegates on the next couple of pages. Anybody here for Mr. Ruiz? Then on the 77th alternate, it's Figueroa, Zoe Curry, Lenore Ziegler, Nilda Narvez, Lorraine Ziegler, I call Nerida Narvez. And the last item is on the Conservative Party petition. Commissioners, you want to call it? Just call it. Conservative Party petition, County Committee, 80th Assembly District, 80th ED, and Dormy. Petition doesn't give a full address for the candidate.
Any appearances? There being no appearances, I move we read it on the flash report.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. The candidate enrollment issues will be called by Mr. Graves for the Bronx. Commissioners will follow the same procedure. Just call the individual's name.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. You have the candidate enrollment issues, Bronx portion, beginning with candidate is not enrolled in the identified party petition. Zenobia Estrella, Denise Velez, Janet Liz Martinez, Raven Moore, Sandra Lancelotti, Lourdes Vasquez, Amenta Lopez, Linda Bonfolio, Anthony Casson, Lorraine Dennis, Ramon A. Nunez, Hector Araujo, Gilsey Dunn, Juana Vasquez, Mariana Torres, Jasmine Rodriguez, Eric Gonzalez, Thelma Patterson, Reginald Holloman, Aila Grant, Felix Arafat, Teresa Reimer, Reginald Jones Sr., Anita Beeks, Sharon Brown, Gloria Rajan, Mary A. Ledesma, Carmen Valentin, James Wilkins, Linda M. Lanier, Viola Colon, Claudine Robinson, Edwin Rodriguez, Jennifer Venturini, Sabrina Cecilia, Robert A. Camijo Jr., Caridad Cotto, Robert White, Winifred Roxbury, Deborah Laterio, Tina Gabriel, Don Martin, Oswald Scott, Kevin Severa, Audrey Ady, Alonza B. Valdez, Jalviria Jahangir, Keith A. Smith, Maria E. Pena, Charlene A. Kales, Barbara Floyd, Danny Guzman, Juana Baez, Arminia Ventura, Rebecca Wilson, Danerka Reyes, Don F. Gomez, Brian K. Johnson, Jenny Keough, James R. Richardson, Roddy Vino, Pietro Spata, David Cardona, Charlie Hamlet, Mary George, Hazel Armstead.
Next category, candidates registration does not exist. Christopher Finley, Esteban Ozuna, Sharon Decker, Anna Checo, Natalia Lopez, Ramon Q. Andujar, Maxine Phillips, Jeffrey Short, Kenneth Joseph, Evelyn Marrero, Rosaline A. Oyebe, Willie H. Eberhart, Israel Ortiz, Wanda Campbell, Darby Whitley, Rosaline Lewis, Daniel Diaz, Alfred Fiorino, Dominica Perez, Teslie Arzu, Mary Jones, Jasmine Brightheart, Kelly Brightheart, Kevin Stiglitz, Sandra Levy Salati, Evelyn Urena, Jermaine D. Bent, Shara Castillo, Fanny Rosario, Pascual Canale, Ariel Acosta, John Abaresi, John McAllister, John Martin, Sean P. Brady, Despina Masteros, Mary Lynch, Joseph S. Connolly, Michelle Connolly, Bernadette Operon, Tracy Barrett, Javier Reyes, Cheryl Leslie, Albert Isifu, Pearlie Thompson, Nilsa Ayala, Dwight Washington, Clifton Davidson, Barbara Jenkins, Willie Macbeth, Josephina Bonilla, Shania Percivali, Anna Soler, Michael J. Ferranda, Kenya Lloyd, Eula Edwards, Princess E. Garcia, Patricia Cruz, Loretta Bell, Lillian Camacho, Maritza Pena, Gloria Colon, Julia Plaja, Yvonne M. Acevedo, Sudi Orocho, Orvin Feliciano, Sandy Deschamps, Gilbert Nunez, Katrina B. Turner, Roberto Ayala, Rafael Garcia, Harold Hatter, Rhoda Smith, Javier Torres, Ronald Berchow, Latola Johnson, Kathy Wuchuch, Laura Joseph, Charlene Corbett Tosi, Victoria Ancayan, Gary Todd, Marie England, Alfred Johnson, Paul Stein, Michael Butler, Valerie Grayson, Julio Hernandez, Toshiba Harden, Carlos Rivera, Yuri W. Alvarez, Shantia T. Robinson, Charles Albasa, Marcial Brooks, Roy Nguyen, William J. Flores, Lisa Bello, Loretta D. Baker. Next category.
Next category, candidates registration is not active. Eleanor Hughes, Mary Collins, Ramirez Sinaga, Danielle Fasolino, Madison Gorman, Gisha Velez, Allison Hamel, Joseph Cusack Jr., Aurora Ovado, Clifford Simmons, Michael Del Rose, Shauna Grant, Tanya Befford, Richard Banks, Lamont Blackwell, Jerry Santiago, Jenny Santiago, Theodore M. Elder, Eva Acclimete Darko, Kathleen McDowell, Teresa Martoriso, Robert Antonetti, Ernest Dupont, Julene Burton, Edwin Rosado Rivera, Edwin Rivera, William W. Gavala, Arlene Benson, Matthew Mayo, Eric J. Padilla, Eric Garcia, Erica Garcia, Miller L. Torres, April Smith, Christopher Fire, Robert Ness, Jerome Martin, Simon F. Mendez, Daniel Feliciano, Magdalena Bones, William Chadet, Yvette D. Elman, Peter Duffy, Jose Leon, Ivy Daniels, Sharon Hayes, Kimberly Gatto, Louise LaGrippo,
James Daniel.
Okay, James Dalio, Lorenzo, Luis LaGrippo, Luis Ferrero, Vito DeRasmo, Kayla Tonelli, Virginia Nag, Charles Higgins, Sandra Cruz, Joseph P. Lucis, Carmen McGreese, Deborah Porter, Gary Conley, Martha O. Shamora, Kimberly Moore, Lisa Mendez, Marin Hassel, Margaret Ferrari, Rita McCanton, Morgan M. Baker, Matthew Baker, Dawn L. Carters, Kenneth Bliss, Kevin R. Higgins, Cheryl M. Dovin, William S. Lewis, Janet Chang, Mary Finnegan, Shima Green, Alda Cafridi, Ada Cafridi, Wanda Coletti, Alfonso Velez, Kashif Flowers, Vanessa Carlita, Rodney Sharder, Shandia, Darlene Bates, Diana Bingston, Irving Gusty, Joel Foster, Juan Hernandez, Theodore Bell, Nisha Lopez, Nathaniel Isaacson, Caesar Garcia, Darlene Shaw, Angel DeValia, Marie Archibald, Daniel L. Danish, Thomas Petrolek, Pauletta Smith, William Rodriguez, Freddie Rodriguez, Rafael J. Valeno, Lillian Joppa, Pedro Mora, Geraldine Grimmage, Rizopoulos, Elodio Vidal, John Ackman, Robert Benefaco, Bonifacio, Michelle Statlo, Louise Carlola, Ernestine Kinder, Ernest Kinder, Louis Smith, Kevin Mitchell, Jose Joseph, Margaret O'Leary, Jerome Pegler, Prager, Hustler, Ursula, Pagoda, Jack Sable, Revis Jr., Bills Raquel, Joanne Hughes, Joseph Tanzilla, Meta Polkland, Elita Sanchez, Robbie Pinchot, Patricia Williams, Annie Woodridge, Ira Taylor, Irvis Taylor, Marshall Harriot, Dennis Harris, Ramon Rodriguez, Nelson Nieves, Carlos Alama, Josephine Balto, Michelle Garber, and that concludes.
Any appearances for any candidates for the Bronx prima facie enrollment issues? Commissioners, hearing none.
Hearing none.
I make a motion to move the report in.
Second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioners will move to the Bronx clerk's reports. Mr. Savino will actually call the reports that have been prepared by the Bronx staff. But first, we're going to call Bronx specification BX1. That's the council's report that you have in the legal folder. Commissioners, this is the...
Hold on, just let everybody
Okay.
get it.
Commissioner, this will be the council's report on specifications of objection BX1-1. The objections of Egidio Cimentelli to the petition, ID number BX1500700, filed on behalf of candidates James Baca, Gertrude Brown, Marjorie Velasquez, James Payne, Thomas Messina, Marjorie Helms, Michael Rivadin Herrera, to the party positions of delegates in the 12th Judicial Convention, and Michael Benedetto, George Clark, Joyce Wilson, Claudette Davis, John Colazzi, Palsy Harvey, and Northern Coletti to the positions of alternate delegates in the convention, all from the 82nd Assembly District. The objector set forth 6 specifications of objections seeking to invalidate the petitions of the candidates. A copy of the specification can be found in attachment A. There are 4 sub-specifications, which is listed in the reports at the cover sheet. 1, the cover sheet claim volume 150003, and its ID number filed. Petition is identified in the board elections with volume number BX50700. No amended cover sheet is filed, and the cover sheet is defective and the petition has not been claimed, and the record must reflect. Commissioners, the discussion is as reflected in the minutes from your meeting held on July 7th, which is in an attachment 2. Commissioner Humane made a report on a matter concerning Bronx petition numbers, and in the end, the board voted that it would be unfair to penalize or reject the cover sheets by having a regular committee hearing due to the board's ministerial error in the assignment of numbers. A sheet was prepared by the staff to act as a key with the new numbers to be used when reviewing the cover sheets. Mr. Matthew Graves, an employee of the Candidate Tracking Unit, testified under oath concerning the matter. Mr. Graves confirmed that Commissioner Humane's statement is consistent with what happened. Mr. Graves presented a list which indicates what the numbers were and what the numbers are now, and which were prepared by the staff in the ordinary course of business. And that's included in your report as attachment 3. Commissioner Humane recommended allowing the originally filed cover sheet to be used with this key so that staff can interpret and confirm that the cover sheets are either correct or incorrect. It is not intended to correct any other error which may have been made in the following of these petitions, other than reference to the petition based on the key. And that motion was adopted with only Commissioner Plateau abstaining. Based on the actions of the board commissioners on July 7th, we believe that sub-specifications 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the specification of objection should be deemed not as stated. Sub-specifications 5 and 6 claim that the petition contains altered addresses by a fixed label over original printed petition after signatures were collected, and that the cover sheet claims altered petitions filed. Commissioners, Rule H3 of your rules require the objector to set forth the factual allegations with particulars. No such material has been presented to support the claims alleged in specs 5 and 6. Specs 5 and 6 make allegations with respect to the sticker label found on the petitions, allegations that they altered the petition after it was presented to the voters. No specific information as to what was actually done is presented by the objector. The fact is that numerous pages throughout the petition contain stickers with labels. Some include initials while others do not. In effect, this specification constitutes an allegation of fraud. As such, and in accordance with the board's standing practice and procedure, these specs are referred to the full board for determination. But you should note your own rule H8, which provides that because the board believes that the appropriate forum for the determination of allegations of forgery or fraud is an invalidating proceeding commenced in the Supreme Court, the board does not ordinarily rule on such allegations. The rule further requires that if a claim as such is made, the specifications must set forth the factual allegations with particularity. In this instance, no such material has been submitted in support of these specifications. It's our recommendation, Commissioner, that in accordance with Rule H8, you just do not consider these two specs. Appearances, please.
For the candidates, Stanley Kalman Schlein and co-counsel Marisa Soto.
Do you have anything to add, Mr. Schlein, or Ms. Soto?
No, I would move the adoption of counsel's report to the commissioners.
I just have a question for Mr. Richmond, if I may. I'm not sure what spec 6's cover sheet claims altered petition file.
That's exactly what it says on the spec, Commissioner.
Oh.
We quoted it.
Because I don't know what that means.
But Commissioner, it's attached, if you look on the Exhibit A, 6, cover sheet claims altered petition files with the petitions contained altered addresses.
I think it says more, the objection says that that occurred after the circulation of the petition, which is a question of fact that must be referred to the court. There was no testimony.
That's early.
That's
Okay,
exactly
I just didn't
right.
understand what it was.
Right.
before I was- Okay.
Are there any other appearances?
I move to adopt the report in, council's report in.
Second. All in favor? All opposed? Carried.
Council's report is adopted. In effect, the specification is found either not as stated or the board lacks jurisdiction to rule, as set forth in the court. What? Well, there may be, if there are separate, there may be, but this was a purely legal spec. There was no line-by-line challenge to these petitions that I'm aware of. And Mr. Savino will now have the honor of calling the clerk's report for the Borough of the Bronx. I would ask that the deputy clerks first introduce themselves. They're here joining us at the table.
Marika Scott McFadden.
Anthony J. Robustello.
All right, with reference to Bronx, spec 3-1, Democratic Party, in the matter of objections by Antonio Figueroa, petition of Aurora Avando, judicial delegates, 85th District, number of signatures submitted for candidates 711, total valid number of signatures 153, number of signatures required 500 appearances. Oh, I'm sorry, also referred to the board 22 potential forgeries, 19 similar handwriting, 41 total signatures referred to the board. Appearances?
For the objectors, Stanley Kalman Schlein and Marisa Soto, and we would move the adoption of the clerk's report. There are an insufficient number of valid signatures on that petition as a result of that report.
The candidate.
John Perez, 1041 Pugsley Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10472.
Do you have an authorization?
Yes, I do.
May we inspect that authorization at the opportunity?
Well, I believe here, this one has the candidate Avando's signature. Mr. Schlein, if you want to go.
Yes, but my understanding is that Mr. Vando's signature, his candidacy was just stricken by the board in the prima facie rulings.
Whose signature was
On page 24.
So no, what is moot is Mr. Perez's participation in this proceeding.
Commissioners, the candidate was removed prima facie for being status X.
So this clerk's report is, should be dismissed.
Well, no, the object is still outstanding. The representative of the candidate is no longer a candidate. Yes, the candidate.
Well, people aren't here.
The other candidates have not provided authorization to Mr. Perez to represent their interests at this hearing. Consequently, we would ask the honorable board to adopt the clerk's report as is.
Do you have anything to add with respect to that? Do you understand what happened?
No, I have an idea. I just want a little clarification, and excuse my ignorance on this. I'm coming fresh out of the boat. Removing me as representing these individuals on a prima facie on a previous notification that was given. Why was that done? Again,
The candidate, Mr. doesn't have an active registration in the city. He's not registered actively with the Board of Elections.
Who does not have an active registration?
She, Aurora Obanda, for whom you submitted a signed authorization for you to appear.
Again, excuse me for not bringing the document, but we did verify that she was a registered voter.
She is not an active voter in the city of New York. She's in inactive status.
No, I was going to say, can you explain to him how?
No, I understand.
Oh, you understand?
I understand that, yes.
So if there's nothing else to add,
Make a motion to move in the clerk's report in.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Vote. Clerk's report's adopted. Candidate will not appear on the ballot. I'm sorry, candidate.
Candidates. It's a judicial delegate slate with one or two remaining.
Bronx 4-1, Democratic Party, objections by Benny Catala, petition of Carlton Curry et al., judicial delegates and alternative delegates, 77th District. Number of signatures submitted for candidates, 431. Total valid number of signatures, 431. Number of signatures required, 500. Referred to the board, nature of the objections. The number of signatures claimed in totality of the petition is less than 500. That is required for the designation of candidates for this party position as set forth in the schedule of respondents. There was no line-by-line objection submitted. The Bronx Borough Office staff counted 431 signatures contained in the identified volume. Appearances?
For the objector, Catala, Stanley Schlein, and Marisa Soto. Honorable Commissioners, this is the, for lack of a better word, the Sloan petition, which was earlierly invalidated by the board. However, in addition to that action taken by the board, we filed specification of objections just by merely counting the number of signatures that appeared in that petition. It is less, as the clerk said, than are required for the office. 500 is required, 431 are just in the petition. We ask, however, notwithstanding the earlier action of the board, for these objections to be granted insofar as a legal proceeding has already been commenced against this board on its ruling by Mr. Sloan. And I would certainly request the right to participate in those proceedings based upon our objections. Notwithstanding the rumor that you can't be killed more than one time, in this instance, we can be killed more than one time. The board made certain rulings on its prima facie objections against its rules. We've made an application for a different ruling. We ask our ruling to be upheld and the motion of the clerks be adopted.
Yeah, I just heard my name mentioned by Mr. Schlein a couple of times, and I don't know I have no idea what he's talking about. As far as I know, there were over 1,000 signatures on the petition, and I'm...
Mr. Sloan, you're no longer a candidate, so you can't appear, but just for factual purposes, the petition volume contained only 431 signatures.
Which petition?
Volume number 721, carrying your name for delegate.
Well, I never received, and none of the candidates, as far as I know, ever received a specification of objections from Mr. Schlein.
They're not supposed to be served on the candidate for party position. They're supposed to be named on the first name persons of the committee to fill vacancies.
Or the contact person.
Or the contact person.
At this time, I move the clerk's report in.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Clerk's report adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Candidate will not appear on the ballot. Again. Bronx Spec 5-1, Democrat. Matter of the objection by Naridia Medina to the petition of Sepulveda et al., Judicial Delegate, 78th District. Number of signatures submitted, 379. Total ballot signatures, 379. Signatures required, 500. Again, there was no line-by-line done in this case. The objection merely stated that there were less than the required 500 signatures, and the Bronx Borough staff counted, and there were in fact only 379.
Appearances, please.
Ricardo Martinez on the Committee of Vacancy, and I have my candidate filled out. I'm partial blind.
Okay, we'll take that.
Thank you. Now, as far as I know, we consolidated both petitions, Your Honor.
May I put in an appearance? Thank you. Stanley Schlein, S-C-H-L-E-I-N, and Marisa Soto for the objector.
Can I speak now?
Yes.
Yes.
Both petition was consolidated. Unfortunately, Mr. James Brady should be off the ballot because he under the 500 mark. But both the other two candidates, both petitions carry the same candidate, except one of the petitioners had Mr. James Brady.
Commissioner, hold on a second. Mr. Martinez
Yes.
does not have a notice of authorization. If the candidates did, they authorized Mr. John Perez.
He scribbled it because I didn't wish to speak, unfortunately.
Well,
But I decided to defend this petition because I worked on this petition, and on top of that, I'm fighting for this petition because
The other name, but Mr., the other name that we crossed out was Ms. Sepulveda on one and Marisa.
that's my brother-in-law and my sister.
But without a written authorization, you can't appear before the board. You cannot be
Okay,
candidate.
so, Mr. Perez could talk on my behalf?
It's, Mr. Perez is talking on behalf of Maritza Martinez, is the one signature we
Fine
have.
with me, thank you.
And for, Mr. Perez, are you here?
Yes.
I stand right here?
Yes.
Go ahead.
May I be heard on the nature of the objections first? Perhaps we can do this sequentially. Thank you, Mr. President. There are two separate volumes filed for candidates for judicial delegate to the Judicial Delegate Convention in the 78th Assembly District. They appeared in your ledger as two separate petitions. One of the petitions has 5 delegates, and one of the petitions has 4 delegates. The party call required 4 delegates. Therefore, the volume containing the 5 delegates should be deemed an over-designation, and all signatures contained within that volume should be rendered moot, 0. In any event, that volume had the 300 and some odd signatures, certainly below the 500 required. But they are not to be combined. They are two different petitions, irrespective of the fact that the cover sheets also, by the way, call them two different petitions. But one had 5 candidates, one had 4. Thank you. That one additional candidate, Mr. Humane.
Yeah, but did it have the same committee to fill vacancies?
It did.
It did. But
And 4 of the candidates were the same.
Yes,
4 were the same.
Yes, there were.
But they can't be combined into a single petition, which is the law.
Commissioners, your commissioner, the cover sheet attempt to cure that was ruled invalid by the Commissioners Committee on July 21st. And they got a notice that they were off the ballot. The candidate was 5. The rule was 5. That was petition number 669, was not a valid cure. We also found, commissioners, for the other 5, they claimed 668 was not a valid cure because they did not, the candidates, all the candidates claimed on the cover sheet did not appear on the petition. So your Commissioners Committee already ruled on this and ruled them off. They received a notice, went to Mr. Perez by express mail on July 21, advising them that the amended cover sheet did not cure the defects in the, by filing 2 cover sheets for each candidate. And accordingly, they were off the ballot. That triggered their right for judicial review on under that notice on the 21st.
Thank you. So as to our specifications of objections, which are, I think, spec 5-1, we would urge the adoption of the clerk's report, finding that this petition contains less than the required number of signatures for the office.
I would respectfully ask that you consider all options here. We made the intent to consolidate both of them, but the fact that there was one overcarry, that we had to split it in that way, not risking everything to be lost. It was an assumption that we took, but we hope that you would understand the concept in which we did what we did and how we did it, and go ahead and at least give us the benefit of the doubt and approve.
We understand that, but the law is the law. You know, unfortunately, you know, we try to get everybody on the ballot and everything, but unfortunately, when you try, you gotta get on with it.
There's no penalty for asking?
No, not at all, not at all. I'm glad you asked.
I move the clerk's report in.
All in favor? All opposed?
Clerk's report is adopted. For this and other reasons, the candidates will not appear on the ballot. Spec number 6-1, Democratic Party, objections by Eric Green, petition of Yolanda Garcia et al., judicial delegates and alternates, 84th District. Number of signatures submitted for candidates, 474. Total valid signatures, 195, where 500 are required. 17 potential forgeries were referred to the board. The number of signatures claimed in this petition, again, is less than the 500 that is required. As set forth in the schedule of respondents, the board staff again counted 474. Apparently also did.
For the objectors, Stanley, Schneider, Marissa Soto.
For your information, we gave them a notice that the volume number involved here, 691, was not sequentially numbered at the foot of each page. They have never attempted to cure that violation. So they're
And in
already
any
off
event, they're less than the requisite number of signatures. We would move the clerk's report. All in favor? Again,
Clerk's report adopted. The candidates will not appear on the ballot.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes.
On the question of proper service, at what point do I discuss that?
Service of what?
I've never been served. I haven't been served with any papers regarding any of these matters.
You're not, are you the contact?
I am the contact person on the cover sheet.
For the cover sheet, no, the contact person was Giglio Cimentelli.
No, that's not, I'm John Perez. I'm with the previous, on the 77th, 79th, and the 85th.
That's a different
Yeah,
one.
well, that's a different one.
Right.
Different one.
I just didn't know at what point in time we were discussing that. We were either discussing specs.
Mr. Perez, we have it, you got the all out on by express mail. To you at 10041 Pugsley Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10472 on July 21st.
I never received any notification on it. Any notification on that? I didn't sign any document. In fact, I
No,
didn't.
it's not a signature that is required when it's still in there.
Unfortunately, there's a presumption of law that once we deposit it,
Okay, it's been delivered. Where was it delivered?
The address on your cover sheet.
And what is the address on the cover sheet?
He just said it's,
Can you repeat it for the record, please?
1041 Pugsley Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10472.
Okay, may I make a correction on the address? My
This is
address-
what you signed and submitted. That's the address that you gave on the cover sheet.
On the cover sheet, there's an apartment number on that cover sheet.
No, there's not, sir.
On the amended cover sheet, there's an apartment number on that, sir.
No, even on the amended cover sheet, there is no
Can
apartment.
you show it
number.
to him, please?
Here's the amended cover sheet for one. Here's the amended cover sheet for the second, neither of which has an apartment number.
Okay. That was fine.
Yes.
Amended cover sheet, would it stand that it wasn't after the fact?
We have our original back.
Yes, yeah, we don't. We don't just,
Just leave them alone.
leave them alone.
This is a cover sheet.
That's just the one that was filed.
We have the originals back, and we have those.
I
You have a
would
cover
remind the
I-
honorable
may I-
board
may
that
I-
our objections were mailed appropriately. And we also have no doubt the board has our mail notice, our certified mail notice here.
Sir, this amended cover sheet is not included in the materials that was submitted.
Well, I would say that would be.
It's a different volume number, 671. This doesn't relate to this case.
Sure, what do you
Your
mean?
numbers are 669 and 668.
669, 668, 66, sir, I'm disputing the whole thing.
And your mama
I was
raised
never
comments.
served. There was no apartment number placed on there. According to certified mail, it indicates what would be the information that would be needed in order for proper service to be done. And the apartment number's in there. Fortunately, I live in a pretty good neighborhood, and I live in a pretty good building, and it's a private building. Unfortunately is that I am in the military, and I do travel a lot, so not everybody knows that I'm there, when I'm there, or how I'm there. The mailman is not gonna go chasing around the whole entire building, 15 floors with about approximately 150 apartments built
Perez,
to
on the
find out.
committee to fill vacancies, in the printed petition, you did not include the apartment number either.
The,
I do hereby appoint all of the following. John Perez residing at 1041 Pugsley Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10472. So you can send it to either the contact person or under the rules to the first name person on the committee to fill vacancies. The petition itself has it without the apartment number.
I understand, but you can't dictate, you can't choose which one you're gonna use. If the
We can-
contact
the
person,
con-
sir, I am speaking, if you may
Sir,
allow me.
One at a time.
You let him finish. and then-
What-
There's a presumption-
what is the reason-
law states there's a presumption that when it goes to the United States Post Office, it is deemed delivered.
If it goes to the United States Postal and I take custody of a parcel, it doesn't leave my custody until I can physically put that in a mailbox. That means that I take a key out, open up a mailbox, insert that in the mailbox, close a mailbox, that what is deemed
You
delivered.
have to file an action in court. There is a presumption that we mail the package to you based on the address that you on your cover sheet.
Or in this case, the amended cover.
I understand that, but if I mail something and it doesn't have a proper address, it will not get to where it's supposed to get, is intended. It won't get there.
But then it would come back to us.
It should have came back to you because it didn't come back, it didn't come to me. And I even went to the post office, Mike.
Mr. Perez, right, and Mr. Perez, on your defective cover sheet, you also did not have the apartment number, but apparently you got the notice of non-compliance because you made 2 attempts to cure the defect.
No, I made it because of Julio Cementelli told me that there was a ledger on there that had an NCO on it. I didn't know what it was, so I came to the board.
Okay. Commissioner?
I'm confused as to what notice we're talking about. We started with the fact that Mr. Schlein and crew didn't serve the objections to you in the proper way. And now are you also saying that the board didn't send the NCN notice regarding but you came in twice apparently with attempts to cure, so you got notice of that.
I had notice by way.
I understand, but you had
No, you got
notice.
notice.
So, so that you were able to have apparently 2 attempts to cure it. So that, to me, is sufficient notice. And apparently, Mr. Klein, based on the documentation submitted, sent it to the same address that you put down on your petitions. And so he's in compliance with our rules.
May I?
So it's a good try, as you said before.
May I
There's
address
no
it?
penalty for trying, but I think we're done with this at this point.
I
So
think that I should be
would-
heard, I
move
think
the
that I should be heard, sir. I think that I should be
We
heard.
heard you.
I don't think that I've been heard clear enough.
Commissioner Eubanks' motion.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Spec number 7-1, Democratic Party, the objections by Cynthia Cox and petition of Enrique Arias et al., judicial delegates, 79th District. Number of signatures submitted for candidates, 533.
Total of valid signatures, 150, where 500 were required. 11 forgeries, 11 potential similar handwriting referred to the board. Appearances?
For the objectors, Stanley Schlein and Marisa Soto.
Notice of appearance?
Yes, okay, so it's not by Ms. Fernandez. He's appearing before one of the delegates.
We would move the clerk's report. There are an insufficient amount of signatures required for this party position. 500 required, 100 and change have been found valid.
Mr. Lopez, give us your hearing. Perez, I'm sorry.
John Perez for Sonia Fernandez. Again, let me start off where I left off. No notice received on the item before you.
On which item?
On
the objections?
On the objections, on the cover page.
Okay, so let's get the proof of service on the objection.
I don't think that you can relinquish responsibility by throwing something in a mailbox.
Well, that's the law.
I did speak to a postmaster, and that's why I'm arguing this. I spoke to several postmen, and that's not what they do. That's not their law, so I don't know which law we're going by. I would like for you to quote me that law specifically, so that I can research it and sleep better at night, knowing that whatever information I obtained here today,
The
I can sleep
mailbox
comfortably.
rule goes back to England. It's a case called Adams v. Linzell, and it goes back historically to England in the, where there's a presumption that a mailed letter in the king or queen's post is deemed good. The law is, and I used to know, but I'm getting old, the New York cases on that as well. But if you saw the movie The Paper Chase, there's a discussion in the classroom that mentions the case of Adams v. Linzell. And that establishes what they call the mailbox rule, which is what was discussed.
Sir, you're still not quoting Adams v. Linzell. You know, fortunately, we don't live in England, and I
No,
live
but
in
the
the
law
United
in New York is
States, both
consistent.
support and
But
defend.
you asked for some support, and
I asked
gave you
for a legal number, a legal research number, where it says that that is what we do. We just dump the mail on top of the mailbox in the building.
That's not what was done. That was not what was done. It was deposited at a post office. That's what the
We're
board did.
waiting to see what was done.
I don't live in the post office. I don't live on anywhere about 1041 Pugsley Avenue. I live in 3A. That apartment building, you have 4 individuals named Perez. Subsequently, another one is called John. So how does he know which mail to deliver where? You had 2 options here. Ma'am, the apartment is on there. Whatever you put on, whatever I have on the petition, although the petition doesn't have my apartment number on there, but the cover page does. And that cover page substitutes any other address on any other document, because it says that, hey, this guy lives at this
I don't know,
location.
Mr. President, I don't know if this will help the board. We have a copy stamped in of our first page of our specification of objections, together with a photocopy stamp of the postal mail receipt for certified mail, which is, again, to John Perez at 1041 Pugsley, the same address that appeared on his petition.
Just to clarify, sir, there was no NCN sent on this. The cover sheet was valid.
They got the original. There you go.
So what we're looking at now is the objection notification.
So I understand. I didn't know what was valid or invalid. I didn't receive any notification. That's why I came in.
I understand, but there's not a problem with the cover sheet. That's why you wouldn't have.
So the cover sheet, we'll
There was
accept
no
the cover sheet
notice
that's having an apartment number?
There's a text sheet objection.
On the back.
Now, could we read what items are necessary?
So this says, okay, so it says, Bronx General Objection number 7, there is a stamped, certified mail receipt addressed to John Perez, 1041 Pugsley Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10472. Is there any more information on either the petition or, other than this address?
Sir, the Board of Elections has my voter registration.
No, we don't.
They do.
So does your driver's license.
Exactly.
We're not taking it out of your wallet.
I understand, but are we gonna make minimal effort to achieve maximum standards based on whatever you feel that is appropriate?
There are specific rules.
Exactly, so does the post office, and let me indicate that the post office has on their, PS form 3800, sender to, name, street, apartment number, or P.O. box.
But you didn't give your apartment number.
I did, sir. It's on the
Mr.
cover
Richmond,
sheet.
could you just relay what you just told us?
Commissioners, on the cover sheet, the original cover sheet filed on July 9th at 10:59 PM for Bronx volume 671, there is no apartment number listed.
An amended cover sheet will make that moot.
Excuse me?
The amended cover sheet should deem that.
There's no
There's no-
amended
we
cover
do-
sheet.
There is an amended cover sheet. I produced the amended cover sheet with the stamp on it. Please.
But again, the board would not review it, there was no defect in the original one. We did file an amended cover sheet on July 15th, which would be too late, unless you had a non-compliance notice, you're not supposed to, this is a late file document. You had to file everything as of right regarding this on or before Thursday night, July 9th at midnight.
Sir, I filed all my amended cover
But you
sheets
didn't
the
need,
same
you had
day.
no authority to file an amended cover sheet for this one.
But I did, and you accepted
We
it. It has
accept
a
all,
valid
we accept
stamp.
everything for filing.
You cannot ignore something that was
No,
accepted
that's
in
not
replacement of.
I move the clerk's report in at this time.
There was, well, the amended cover sheet, Commissioner, was filed late, there was no need, there was no notice of non-compliance sent out, so that was treated as a nullity.
Accept everything for filing.
We are by law required to receive any document submitted to us and clock it in, even if you give us, a ham sandwich.
Okay, so then the clocked-in notification should have the time and date stamp, and you would see that it's within the reasonable time allowed for that to happen.
It's on, no, it's on the 15th.
Motion.
I have a motion. I have a motion on the floor. Second, all in favor? All opposed? Carried.
Clerk's report is adopted, the candidates will not appear on the ballot. Spec 8-1, objections by Meridia, Medina, Democrat, oh, this is them? Okay. Petition of Jacqueline
This is the other one, this is the other one that they want to combine.
at Al Judicial Delegate 78th Assembly District. This is a different petition number than the one ruled on moments ago.
Yes.
A number of signatures for candidate, 314. Total number of ballot signatures, 314, where 500 required. Again, the Bronx staff just counted the number of signatures based on the objection and confirmed there were only 314.
For the objector, Stanley Klein and Marisa Soto, in this instant,
I don't know.
78, it's the other half of the 78.
Not mine.
Petition 6.
Is it my half? You sure?
They're both halves, I don't know which one you're taking credit for.
The same one?
Apparently.
This is the one with the four,
This is,
with the four.
The other one.
And, right, and again, it lacks a sufficient number of signatures for the party position.
Commissioner, Mr. Klein may want a ruling on the clerk's report, you've already removed, the commission committee removed these candidates.
Yes, we would like to
run the cover sheet.
Thank you.
Second.
all in favor? All opposed? Carried.
Clerk's report's adopted. For this and other reasons, the candidates will not appear on the ballot. Spec 9-1, Bronx Democratic Party, Diane C. Serino is an objector. Petition of Julio Munoz et al., Judicial Delegates, 80th Assembly District. Number of signatures for candidate 475. Total number of valid signatures 475, where 500 signatures are required. Again, the nature of objections just pointed out that there were an insufficient number of signatures. A line by line was not done, but the Bronx staff confirmed that there were in fact only 475 signatures. Appearances.
For the objectors, Stanley Schlein and Marisa Soto. Again, same objection, not a sufficient number of signatures for the party petition, 500 required. We ask the clerk's report to be adopted.
Any appearances for the candidate? Hearing none?
All in favor? All opposed?
Clerk's report is adopted. Candidates will not appear on the ballot. Spec number 11-1, Democratic Party, objections by Letitia Harper, petition of Milady Leonardo et al., judicial delegates and alternate delegates, 86th Assembly District. Number of signatures submitted for candidates, 714. Total valid number of signatures, 360, where 500 are required. Potential forgery, 6, similar handwriting, 8, referred to the board. Appearances?
For the objectors, Stanley Schlein and Marisa Soto. The nature of the objections this time was a line by line, bringing it below the requisite number of 500. We'd urge the adoption of the clerk's report.
Appearances for the candidate? Hearing none?
All in favor? All opposed? Carries.
Clerk's report is adopted. The candidates will not appear on the ballot. Spec number 12-1, Democratic Party, objections by John Colazzi, petition of Egilio Cementelli et al., for judicial delegates, 82nd Assembly District. Number of signatures submitted for candidate, 987. Total valid number of signatures, 515. Number of signatures required, 500. Appearances.
For the objectors, Stanley Schlein and Marisa Soto.
And the candidate?
It would be unprofessional of me if not to acknowledge to this honorable board that Mr. Cementelli, the beneficiary of the objections, is in this room. He chose not to come up. I can't do that, help him, but we would ask for a second review of this petition. We have, in fact, reviewed at the Bronx Board today the not as specified objections in advance of today's hearing. Maybe he wants to give his appearance.
Do you have the list?
Yes, we do. Would, however, only have one copy. I would certainly ask the board to refer to it. There are 41 specific line items that we believe the board erred on, and we would appreciate their review and ask for a second call on this.
Giulio Cementelli,
Yes.
2041 Colonial Avenue, Bronx, New York. I recommend that the board, the honorable board here, adopt the clerk's report. There is no necessary. There was time and energy invested by the Board of Elections to review these specifications. I believe the Board of Elections is professionally enough to have conducted a professional job, an accurate job, an honest job, and I request that the commissioners adopt the recommendation of the clerk report, and I find this somewhat odd that at the last minute, the last day, there is a revision of these or objections to these petitions. Thank you so much.
I would point out to this honorable board that in the Queen's calendar that was read plus or minus an hour ago, there were objections that were raised by one of the parties, and this board second called it and asked teams to look at it. We would ask for no less of that opportunity.
We're asking for a second call as well to have our clerks review these exceptions.
And
the exception list does comply with our rules.
42.
It's 41.
41?
41, there are 515 that are claimed to be valid.
Mr. Simonelli, do you have any other, where the board erred that would have erred in your favor? Because you also have an opportunity under our rules to submit a list.
Well, I think I received, I had the proper notice, 24-hour notice for the clerk's report that was faxed to me. I felt there was no necessary or no need, no indication.
Mr. Simoncelli,
Of
the
any-
answer is no. You have
If
no
I,
exception.
Miss Commissioner, with due respect, I'm answering the Commissioner's question, and I appreciate the time to answer. Thank you, Miss Commissioner. Considering I had proper 24-hour notice, and the report, the clerk's report stated the 515 was the actual number, I believe.
Correct.
There was no indication that I needed to do research or to review the board's work, but I'm available now, today, right now, to go through these 41 specific petitions, and we'll do it as the Queen's Board or the Queen's Party did.
Yes, we're gonna go through the 41
Thank you.
signatures right now on the second floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Honorable Commissioners.
Can you get two staff members?
Thank you, Honorable Commissioner.
Diana, please.
Ms. Soto will be the participant on behalf of the objector.
Mr. Hagerty, is the Queen's second call ready?
Yeah, that concludes the Bronx.
That concludes the Bronx subject to the second call, but I believe the Queen's Deputy Chief Clerk has a report on the Queen's second call. As soon as they change seats, yes.
Excuse me, I was told I would be given a proof of service, and I'm waiting for it.
Service concern?
Of 77.
A member of the Assembly in the 29th Assembly District. I believe that the Queen's Deputy Chief Clerk and Ranking Democrat have a report to present to the Commission. Mr. Hagerty?
So the clerks reworked the 14 signatures that were brought to our attention, and the clerks have agreed that 2 of those objections are not as stated, and they referred one to the board.
You want to report what you referred to the board?
So, page 11, line 2, requires, in the opinion of the clerks, some analysis of handwriting, and so we thought that was. You're welcome.
Which line?
It's page 11, line 2.
Page 11, line 2. You have the button.
So 12 of the 14 items.
We found in 11 of the cases that the objection was as stated. One of them was listed as no jurisdiction, meaning that the signature was already counted in the case. It was an allegation of forgery, which the board did not, the clerk did not rule.
So that 11 put back, puts the overall number.
Okay, give it back to you. 2 of the 14. 11 were confirmed, the rulings of the board were originally confirmed, 11 cases. They were reversed 2 rulings, and 1 ruling is now referred to the board. So right now they're at 499.
It's at 499, right?
Subject to your determination of that. Signature.
Okay. This is 15. Can we continue this conversation?
No, you have to convene.
And we'll show
What am I looking for?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, this has to be done.
discussion, they're just showing him. There's no discussion, they're just looking at what they're pointing out. So Commissioner Plateau see it.
While this is going on, can I ask the parties to explain what the problem is with that signature? So we can all understand for the record exactly what's being discussed. Well, you guys should know because you were in the other room, so you saw it. The signature is Kevin, the signature is the signature of a potential voter by the name of Kevin Young.
If I'm not mistaken,
The issue has to do with the handwriting in the address. The clerks sustained a not registered objection.
Is it legible or doesn't matter?
They believe the address does not match.
What's all about the address?
Well, because it's a handwriting. It seems that there's a...
The candidate's representatives allege that is the correct address.
I'm sorry.
The only one that has the initial modification
So
Excuse me. It's not an initial.
Referring it to us.
The clerks originally sustained the objection, not registered as stated, and upon review, being brought to the attention by the candidate, they felt that they were being asked to make an analysis of handwriting, and they referred to the address.
So I would like to hear the parties on this issue. So you are objecting, Mr. Bowles.
I'll phrase it as I understand it. They've presented a buff card for a Kevin Young, that when the board originally looked up this registration, they couldn't determine by the name. They then looked at the address. They looked up 120-32 78th Street. They did not come up with a registration, and the board's been presented with a buff card for 120-32 178th Street. So there was some colloquy as to whether the one which was far away from the 7-8 was actually a comma, or if it is in fact 178. And so the representatives of the board have punted it to the commissioners to examine the petition as to the address as it compares to the buff card
So it's your
of a
view that the
registered voter.
address is not correct because the 1 is too far away from the 78?
That is correct.
And the 7 is not particularly clear, is that it?
No, the 7's very clear. If you look at it quickly, it looks like 78th Street.
Okay. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not sure with your name.
Ruthie Campbell.
Okay, Ms. Campbell, could you argue that your position as to whether or not you believe that the address is correct or not?
Yes, well, it was stated on the clerk's report that this person was a non-registered voter, and we provide proof of the voter registration form based on the name, that it is a registered voter. The address is 178th Street, that's on the petition, and that's also the same information that's provided on his voter registration form.
Can I ask a question? Is there more than one Kevin Young? Is that a possibility?
Is that a possibility? Well, based off the information that we did in the consent room, it was that information that came out based on his BSN number and his name. There was one Kevin Young that came out.
But our staff had done an initial search, but they couldn't come up with a name and had to try to do a reverse address search doing different combinations in order to try to find a particular person.
Well, when they looked up the name came up. They didn't base it off of the address. They looked up the name and the name came up.
Mr. Hagerty, can you explain?
We did it by the VSN provided by the candidate in this case.
Did you try the name on?
We did not. We limited ourselves to what was submitted.
Today.
Today.
Right. Prior to the date.
I'd have to ask the clerk.
And what's your what's your recommendation to us? For the initial determination to the parties?
The initial determination was made by the clerks, that they sustained an objection of not registered. They did not go further on the line, though, because they sustained the first objection. They did also indicate an objection of wrong address.
But on the list, they did provide.
They provided the voter
voter
serial
fed
number, which is what led us to get this particular voter in this case.
The clerk states she looked it up by the address.
You looked it up by the address and couldn't find it.
Couldn't find the voter.
And I always have a belief the address has it.
We just had a whole discussion of the accuracy of the addresses and how important it is to have an accurate address, because it allows the board to carry out its functions.
Well, if you look at it, it's possible to see that the address is there. It's just when you're comparing the two. But you have both of them in front of you.
Well, that's what we're looking at right now. So do you have an is there an amended clerk? Are you preparing an amended clerk's report, or are you making it oral? That you're just adding the two, one that's been referred to before, right?
We only need this one signature to have our candidate name allowed on the ballot. And as I asked in the back, Mr. Haggard, I asked them, if you cannot find the address is illegible for you, can you search by the name? And they told me that they do. So I don't know what they did previously to find this person, but we found this person, we found the voter, and we also found the VSN number that matches the information that we write on the petition.
According to the clerk's work, they provided no VSN, which means that they did not find it.
Initially, they
Right,
didn't.
we found the voter because they provided us with a VSN, which led us to this particular voter.
Right, originally they did.
They originally did it, they did not. If they had found the voter, they would have indicated the VSN on this guy.
Does the candidate agree with the process you just participated in, that 11 of your 14 items on that list are not valid?
Well, yeah, we agree. Well, did the candidate agree? The candidate
Well, candidate or their representative?
Whoever did was in there.
You were just in the...
Yeah, we agree with the
I would move the amended clerk's report as amended here orally. I don't believe that that's a complete address. I think that the address has to be accurate and complete at all facts, from the petition to the cover sheet to everywhere as required by our rules.
That's the complete address. If you see it on the petition, it's a complete address.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
On the motion, I don't know how to vote, other than to say that I respectfully disagree. In my review as a commissioner, showed that the certified copy of that registration with the signature on it and the address is
Well,
to match.
there's a motion, and then a second, and
Oh,
vote against.
okay.
Do I have a second? I second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Roll call vote.
On Commissioner Rogers' motion to adopt Queen's Clerk's Report QN 3-1 as modified orally by the clerks to add 2 signatures.
Which would bring the, just clarification, which would bring the total to
Which would, 497
499.
plus 2.
499.
500 or what? Commissioner Arajo?
Yes.
Commissioner Castorino?
Opposed.
Commissioner Fato?
Opposed.
Commissioner Guastella?
Opposed.
Commissioner Andino?
Opposed.
Commissioner Shulkin?
Opposed.
Commissioner Shamoon?
Opposed.
Commissioner Humane?
Nay.
Secretary Perez?
Opposed.
Mr. President. On this vote, 2 in favor, 8 against, the motion on spec 3-1 to adopt clerk's report as orally amended is not agreed to. So, another motion would be.
Can we, just to speed up this process, could we now have a motion to adopt the clerk's report at 500? So we're done, we're going to be in court, and we'll deal with it there.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
So there's 1 abstention. So the clerk's report is now orally amended in spec 3-1 to provide that there are now 500 valid signatures. Will the clerks please prepare an appropriate amended official report to provide it to the party so that they'll have it for court?
Yes, and if I could just clarify so that we're all on the same page, as to their submission, they put numbers down the side. So the 3 signatures that are being picked up, it's number 2, which was at page 11, line 2, number 4, which was at page 40, line 2, and number 12, which was page 130, line 3, that the clerk's report is going to be amended, those line by lines, so that there's now 500 signatures.
That's correct.
Thank you.
The candidate will now.
And based, the clerk's report as adopted has the candidate on the ballot with 500 valid signatures. Commissioners, that concludes the Queen's
Thank you.
calendar for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we're waiting, you may want to just stand at ease while we wait for the Bronx report.
I just want to take this time to thank the Queens County staff for their hard work during this difficult time. It's always appreciated. Thank you on behalf of myself.
If I can.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
I have a post member here, sir, that doesn't have enough time, that has to go back to work, but I have a post.
Deputy Chief. Here they come.
All right, cut it out. It's been over 10 years. Still a good show.
Okay. Commissioners, put aside for a second call, the clerks to review the clerk's report in Bronx specification 12-1 based on the list of exceptions submitted. The deputy chief clerks have rejoined us, and I would ask them at this point to report what their findings are.
8 out of the 41 were found to be taken off. So with that logic, it's 515 was the original report, minus 8 makes it 507. So that's the new total.
Amended.
That's the amended
So
total.
that's the amended.
Amended total was 507.
Comments from the candidate, were you satisfied with the process?
I am very satisfied with the process, and I wish to thank the Bronx deputy and also the Manhattan Board of Election employees down here, and especially the commissioners. And I would like to say for the record that the Bronx staff did a very professional job. As I stated earlier, I'm going to say it again, I commend them for the great work. And I also want to take the opportunity, since prior, when I was up here, I was a little flavorful when I was speaking to Ms. Perez, and I do want to apologize to Commissioner Perez if my tone seemed a little disturbing, and please accept my apology, and thank you so much, and thank
I accept your apology, Mr. Santelli. Ms. Soto,
Ms.
do
Soto.
you have
Thank you.
an addition?
I just want to thank the board for their time and consideration of our additional objections, and we accept the clerk's report.
Okay, so we move to adopt the clerk's report
As amended.
as amended.
Second. All in favor? All opposed?
Candidate,
Carries.
clerk's report is adopted. Candidate will appear on the ballot with 507 signatures. I would ask that the Bronx deputy chief prepare an amended report and circulate it both to the candidate, the objector, and to us, reflecting the oral report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Soto.
Commissioners,
Thank you, Mr. Santelli.
Commissioners, Mr. that concludes the calendar of hearings today. Mr. Castorino, did you have one item you wanted to raise?
Yes, I'm going to make a motion that the judge, we ask that court counsel ask the judge with respect to Staten Island respect to have somebody sent out to Staten Island at the Staten Island location.
Commissioners, Office of Court Administration has transferred all of the Staten Island election matters, the jurisdiction of the 11th Judicial District and Justice Weinstein in Queens County.
Steve, why can't we have a JHO assigned to Queens come to Staten Island?
In Queens, the practice has been that they do not assign JHOs or referees to conduct the election matters. Each of the judges assigned takes the case, and we have been successful recently in persuading the judges to come to the Queen's office. The Queen's office has serviced them. They think it's a miraculous development that they have a computer screen that they can look up and see the registration records. But they don't use JHOs as the other boroughs do. We're going to be before Judge Weinstein next Tuesday morning, and if Commissioner, you adopt that, we will convey that request to Judge Weinstein.
Just to reiterate, that's the motion on the floor, that request was made by Corporation Counsel to the court.
On behalf of the board.
On behalf of the board.
Second, all in favor? All opposed? Carries. Lincoln. I want to thank the Bronx.
I also want to thank the Bronx staff for their hard work.
And I would like to thank everybody for their hard work. That concludes today. Tomorrow's meeting start at 10 a.m. Thank you. See you tomorrow.